Hey guys, the Explorer of Horror here, Horror Boy 465. Welcome back to some more reviews, and today, getting to the winners of the popular vote by you guys. As you guys know, I had put on Twitter a vote to where you guys could choose which franchise I would review out of the franchises that I announced. And the winner of that was the Creepshow franchise, which is pretty cool because I was actually wanting to talk about these movies for the longest time. These two movies. I was wanting to talk about these two movies. There's one movie I'm not looking forward to, and that's Creepshow 3, because I already hate it, and I haven't seen it yet. But I've seen plenty of reviews, I've heard plenty of stories. I already hate Creepshow 3. There's no way I could like that movie. I already hate it. But I'll have to get to that review eventually, but I'm glad that I'm going to at least see these movies because I love these movies, including the second movie. Really like it. Obviously, the best one is the first movie, but I still love the second movie. I think it's a lot of fun. But I was very excited to talk about these movies because I'm a really big fan of them, and at least we can talk about these movies. Now, I can't say the same for Creepshow 3 because that's going to be complete torture, but these movies would be fun to talk about. Of course, in this review, I'll be talking about the very first Creepshow, which I love the box art for this. I absolutely love that. I love the tagline as well. The most fun you'll ever have being scared. I love the poster, love the tagline. This DVD, this type of DVD, this whole cardboard DVD thing, not a really big fan of it, but really it's the only way you can find this movie now, unless there's a Blu-ray out, which I'm not too sure. But really, this is like the only way you can popularly find this movie. There's another DVD you can get, and there's a Blu-ray of the documentary that was made for this movie. Now, I don't know if there's a Blu-ray of this movie, and if there's not a Blu-ray of Creepshow, that's freaking insane, because there's a lot of movies that have Blu-rays that don't deserve Blu-rays. This deserves a Blu-ray. This also deserves a Blu-ray. Now, I don't know if it did or not, but if these ain't got Blu-rays, they need Blu-rays. But Creepshow is a movie that, I had the same kind of DVD as a kid. This isn't the same exact DVD, but it's the same kind, this whole cardboard DVD. I had that as a kid. And Creepshow is one of those movies that I grew up with as a kid. It was a movie that I used to watch a lot as a kid because I found it to be, as a kid, creepy and fun. Like, it was scary, but it was also a fun time to watch it. So there's a lot of times when I was a kid I would pop in Creepshow and watch it. And, I could have easily just sort of skipped over this and rewatched the second movie only, and then watch the third movie. But I figured, because I've seen it so many times, I could probably tell you every scene. But I figured I would revisit it because I love the movie, and it holds up. I mean, this time watching it again, I noticed some stuff watching this movie, which I'll get into in a little bit. Rewatching this, I noticed some stuff with this movie. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that I was able to revisit the movie because there's a lot of stuff that I looked over or didn't notice last time I seen. So me giving it another watch was actually a pretty wise decision. The movie came out in 1982, gets a 6.9 on IMDb, written by George A. Romero and screenplay by Stephen King. That alone is freaking awesome. To have George A. Romero, a director that I think is a fantastic director. Big fan of George Romero. Rest in peace, George Romero. Great director. Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead. I've also watched a couple other movies that he's made. Big fan of the vampire movie that I'd seen. Why did I forget the name of it? I'll be back real quick. Martin. That's the movie I forgot to mention. Martin. Big fan of that, and I really want to see Monkey Shines. There's a lot of movies I've seen of George Romero, and a lot of them I really enjoy. So you got George Romero, and you got Stephen King, my favorite horror author, in the same movie. I'm going to be right back again, because this is a little crooked, so I'm going to try and fix this real quick. I'll be right back. It's bugging the heck out of me. Okay, so I'm back. I tried to fix it the best I could. That was just bothering me a little bit, because it was like a tilted background. It may not be 100% better, but I tried to fix a little bit. But yeah, George Romero and Stephen King, that alone is freaking awesome. To have two of my favorite people in horror. My favorite horror author, probably my favorite horror director. I don't know. There's a lot of directors I really enjoy. Like, I'm a big fan of Tobe Hooper, big fan of John Carpenter. a big fan of Wes Craven. So I don't know if I'd say, I don't know. It's a tough decision, but my favorite horror author, one of my favorite horror directors, coming together to make this movie. This was back when they got together to try to make a movie, and I like the premise of the film, how it takes place sort of like the 1950s, 60s horror comics that were really big back in the day, and to try and implement that into a movie, but also make it a anthology flick. Sorry, I forgot the term for a second, but for this to be made into an anthology film was really awesome. I really enjoyed the premise of the movie, and I don't know, Creepshow. There are elements to this movie that not only makes it a great anthology film, but also makes it a great film. I think that every segment sort of has its own feel. Um, I really love the score. I love the way the movie's shot, very well directed. I love the editing choices, the comic book editing choices. I love how during certain scenes, the lighting will change. Like when somebody's screaming, behind them it'll go like green or go blue or go red or something like that. And it'll turn to a comic book page. And I really like that. And it's very well done in this film. And I love all the segments. Now, I've heard that the first two segments get a lot of flack. Personally, I don't see what's wrong with them. I love every single segment in the movie. There's about, I don't know how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 plus the wraparound, I believe. And I think all of them are very well done. Now, certain ones, of course, have a little bit more detail to them, or are a little bit more higher ranked than others. But altogether, I think they're all great segments. And every segment has its own characters, their own personality, and that's what I really enjoy about the movie. Is that the characters are really good. You get not one-dimensional characters, not at all. You get characters that have good stories behind them, characters that have a dark past or have these dark thoughts. Like it gets into characters like that, and I like that. And this is my favorite anthology film. I've seen a little bit of anthology movies. I have not seen Body Bags. ABC's of Death 1 was decent. It was alright. ABC's of Death 2 was really good. Tales of the Dark Side, the movie. I haven't seen the TV show, but I did see the movie. Really enjoyed the movie. But this is probably my favorite one. Now, again, I haven't seen Body Bags. I haven't seen a couple other anthology movies. But so far, this is still my favorite. And there's a lot of stuff that I like about this movie. Direction, acting, great cast. You have Leslie Nielsen in there. You had the lead girl from Dawn of the Dead in there. You have great cameos, like a Tom Savini cameo. You also have like Tom Atkins in a cameo, which is pretty cool. You just have a lot of great cameos, great cast, and the movie, I think, really balances being fun and being creepy, because there's points where the movie is, it's having fun, especially the second segment of the movie. It's very fun, very lighthearted, very, good humor and stuff like that. And then there's parts of the movie where it gets like dark and it gets creepy and it gets pretty scary. So I like how it does that. And this movie used to creep me out as a kid, and it's honestly one of those very few films that still creep me out, because there's still parts in this movie that are creepy. Certain creature designs, certain segments, they still generally creep me out, and that's pretty awesome for the movie to do that. And the first segment of the movie, Father's Day, I really enjoy, where it's a basic story where there was this father who had a daughter, and he was very he calls his kids vultures. Like, oh, you cannot wait to get your hands on my money. And he finds out that his daughter gets like a boyfriend, and he has the boyfriend get killed. And the daughter snaps on him one day and kills him with an ashtray. And it's Father's Day years later. The dad comes back as a zombie, and I love the scene where he comes back. It's like it's pointing at the daughter. She's at the grave, visiting the grave, and the hand pops out of the ground. The score kicks in. The lighting goes to like a red. like a red lighting from regular lighting to red lighting. It's freaking awesome. He gets out of the grave and strangles her and kills her. He like makes a tombstone fall on this guy, twists this girl's head around and makes her. It pretty much decapitates her and makes her head like a new cake. Freaking, I thought it was a fun segment. It's definitely one of my favorite ones, and that's one that gets a lot of flack. Not as much flack as the second one, which I can never remember the name of, so I'm going to get this ready for me to read because it actually has a title right here because I can never remember the freaking name of it. But the first one, Father's Day, I really enjoy it. I think it's got a really good mood, a very good atmosphere. This is one that's more dark and foggy and more traditional horror, like it's outside and it's very dark and foggy and storming. So I really like the mood. I really like the lighting. Characters, they were there. They weren't really too bad. A couple characters are kind of like, all the fancy and all. But, they were pretty good for what they were. I really know the first segment. I don't really see what's wrong with it. It's a pretty awesome idea. And the second segment, which I can never remember the name of, The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. Now, I'm probably going to call him just Stephen King or just say the character that Stephen King played because I can never remember his name. I really cannot. And it's this segment right there where a meteorite comes down. Stephen King got an acting role in the movie, did a really great job. I thought he did a really great job. And this segment is a little bit more goofy. It's a little bit more silly. There's scenes where he's imagining, oh man, they can cash this in and get a lot of money. Then the meteorite, he touches it and it makes these bumps on his skin and then it cracks in half. And he pours this juice out of it. And he calls it like meteor crap. And I like that scene because it's pretty funny. And I think Stephen King has fun with this scene or with this segment. I think Stephen King does a great job. It's pretty funny. And I like how this like plant, like it's like basically this plant starts growing everywhere, and he starts getting like this weeds and stuff, these plants all over him, and the rest of his house gets covered in plants, and the plants grow everywhere, and it gets to the point where he's like covered in plants and has to commit suicide. And it's a silly segment, but I think when it really hits to be creepy is the ending because you realize he doesn't want to commit suicide, but he's pretty much in torture. So he goes like, please, God, just this one time, please, God, and then he shoots himself. The ending, I thought, made it, okay, that's a pretty creepy idea of like this thing growing on you and you can't do anything about it. And Stephen King did a great job in the movie. In this segment, I thought he did a great job. It was very entertaining, very funny, but also had a creepy background to it as well. And I love the score because the score in this segment totally felt like a Twilight Zone score. Just listening to it has a bunch of stuff that would sound like it's from the Twilight Zone series, so I really enjoy that. The next one is Something Tied You Over. This is one with Leslie Nielsen in it. This one's pretty good, where Leslie Nielsen is this rich guy, and his wife has been cheating on with this other guy. So he goes to confront the other guy, tells him that his wife is in trouble, and if he wants to see her be okay, then he has to come with him. And it ends up being to where the guy gets buried in sand, like this. Leslie Nielsen buries him in sand, and pretty much lets him stay out there to where he drowns. And he vows revenge. He comes back. The guy who drowns comes back as a zombie, and so does the girl. The girl is from Dawn of the Dead. Don't remember. Is she in the cast list? But she was from Dawn of the Dead. I can't remember her name right now, but she's the lead girl from Dawn of the Dead. I'll be right back. It was Galen Ross from Dawn of the Dead. And she makes an appearance in this segment, and it's a very good segment. I mean, I think the idea is very great, where it's a very intense idea. Like, imagine being buried in sand up to your neck, and you can't move, and it's like this horrible death of the tide coming in and drowning you. It's a very creepy idea. And Leslie Nielsen, it's very fun seeing him in this movie because he adds humor, but he's also a very good psychopath. He plays a really great psychopath in this movie. And I felt that I liked him more in this movie than in Prom Night. I like him in Prom Night, but the thing is, in this movie, he added in a little bit more fun to his role. Prom Night, he was a little bit more of a serious character, which he did a great job in Prom Night, but I just like in this movie how he had fun with it, and he plays a great psychopath in this movie, and pretty much the people who he drowns comes back from the dead and buries him in the sand. And you got that great line, "I can hold my breath for a long time." I love that. I just love that. And the tide comes in. He has that like all crap face. It's very, very fun segment. The next one, which I'm looking over here real quick, is The Crate. Now, this is one that I really enjoyed. Now, I don't know if I would say it was my favorite. It's either that or, oddly enough, Father's Day, which many people are like, what? I like Father's Day. That's a really great segment. So it's either that or Father's Day. It's hard to decide. But The Crate is a great story. I mean, it pretty much follows this university. They found this crate underneath the stairs, and they start investigating it. And it has this like really creepy looking mutated monkey baboon thing in it. And it messes people up. I mean, it's biting people, clawing people. There's a scene where it pulls a janitor inside of it, and like you just see like him eating the janitor and blood going everywhere. There's a scene where he literally takes a chunk out of some guy's face and then like claws him. And the main character of the story, The Crate, is actually the guy from The Fog. He was the priest from The Fog, and he has his girlfriend, who I believe she was from The Fog as well, if I'm not mistaken. And I think is it Ted Danson? No, that was the guy who got buried in the sand. But it was the guy who played the priest in The Fog. The girl might have even been from The Fog, I can't remember. But basically, he has like really annoying girlfriend who he's always daydreaming that he's killing her and stuff like that. And his friend comes in and tells about this crate, and he gets this thing set up to where he basically takes his girlfriend there, and she gets murdered. He takes the crate and puts it out in the ocean, and the crate breaks, and that's pretty much the end of the story where the baboon monkey thing escaped. It's a very straightforward story. I know I'm not really like going in detail, but they're very straightforward stories. And if you haven't seen Creepshow, check it out. Freaking, it's a must-see for a horror fan if you haven't seen Creepshow. But I like how at first the character is like daydreaming, so you're like, oh, he's not going to really do it. But he actually, he has that dark sort of layer to his character where he actually does do that, and he gets his wife killed by this baboon thing. So that's what I mean. It's like at first you would expect him, he's not like that. He's not going to get his wife killed. But he actually snaps. He has a dark sort of side to his character. And he actually does have his wife get killed. So I thought that was a very good character moment where we realized, like, hey, these aren't one-dimensional characters. There's actually, you don't know what to expect from these characters. So I really like that. The next segment after The Crate, really enjoyed The Crate. I thought it was very, 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 very cool. Next one is They're Creeping Up on You. And I really enjoyed this segment. Very basic, where there's basically this, germaphobe guy. He's living in this germ-proof apartment. And he's a mean guy. I mean, he causes this, rival business, this owner of this rival business to commit suicide. And he's all like, oh, that's great, that's great. And he's just a horrible human being. Treats his employees like crap. Says, oh, if you're not going to do this, I'll fire you. There's even a guy who's at Disney World with his wife and kids. And he's like, oh, you better send me some reports or whatever. You're going to get fired. I'm like, this guy is a major dick. I'm sorry. He's a freaking douche. He really is. And the actor who played him did a great job. Just great job. And he was very unlikable. Actor did a great job. And basically, he started seeing cockroaches. And from what I've heard, the cockroaches in this movie were kind of out of control. George Romero didn't even want to be on set. It was that was how out of control the cockroaches were. They were everywhere. And it's a segment that still makes me squirm because I can't stand giant hissing cockroaches. And that's what they are. They're freaking hissing cockroaches, and they're freaking disgusting. And they're real. That's what I like about it. It's not CG. It's real bugs. And they're crawling all over the place. They're swarming the apartment, and eventually it gets so bad that he, goes over to his bed, takes the sheet off, and his whole bed is covered in cockroaches. And the end part of that segment is still one of the creepiest things I've seen. Where, he's just laying on his bed, lifeless, and you don't know what's going to happen. And all of a sudden, there's freaking bugs that come out of his mouth. They rip through his chest, and it's freaking gruesome. It's freaking creepy, too. So that segment, very basic, but very creepy. And the wraparound story, which I don't know if it's actually called something. Basically, the wraparound story is that this kid has a voodoo doll and stabbed the Tom Atkins character's voodoo doll's neck, calls him to have pains in his neck, and that's pretty much the wraparound story. And I don't know, Creepshow is very fun. It's very entertaining. I love all the segments in the movie. It's 2 hours long, but it's a very fast-paced film. Very fast-paced film. It'll go by in a flash. And it's got everything. I think it's got everything right with it. Everything's right with it. All the segments are great. All the characters are great. The lighting choices, the editing choices, the music, the direction. It really is one of those very few perfect films. This really is a perfect movie. It's fun, but yet creepy. It's what the tagline is. It's the most fun you'll ever have being scared. It's absolutely that. And I don't really know what else I can say about Creepshow. I mean, it's fun. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a must-see. I really do hope this has a Blu-ray. I really do. If this doesn't have a Blu-ray, I am very shocked. But the first Creepshow is classic. It's one of my favorite horror films of all time, and it's really the perfect horror film. So yeah, Creepshow 1, classic. And tomorrow I'll get to Creepshow 2, which is a fun sequel. Now, granted, not as good as the first movie, but still a very fun sequel. I imagine it's 100 times better than Creepshow 3, but Creepshow 2, I'll get to this tomorrow. I'll watch it tomorrow, and then I'll review it for you guys tomorrow. And then I may watch Creepshow 3 tomorrow. I don't know. Depends on if I have to. Depends on if I'm mentally prepared to watch Creepshow 3, because I've heard it's so bad. But yeah, Creepshow 1 is great. Creepshow 2, I'll get to it tomorrow. It's a fun sequel. I can't wait to talk about it. But yeah, that's my review for Creepshow 1. Hope you guys enjoyed, and that's pretty much it. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Take care, and the Explorer of Horror is out. See you guys later. Bye.